Okay, Elvis Presley, George Strait, Britney Spears. What do these folks have in common? Well, obviously, they're all globally famous musicians, but what you probably didn't think about is before that, they were locally successful musicians. Now, it seems like nowadays everybody wants to be a rock star, and unfortunately, most of us are never going to achieve that status. But don't let that deter you. I'm Jason Sharpton. But for several years, I enjoyed a successful career as a local country music artist, playing venues mostly within a 60-mile radius of my house. Okay, but I did get the opportunity to open for some major recording artists like the legendary Gene Watson, Nashville recording star Neil McCoy, and winner of the first season of Nashville star Buddy Jewell. All great people. So, if you have a desire to pursue a career in music or any type of performing, or if you've just wondered what some of us that do that go through, maybe my little presentation here will kind of give you some insight into that.
I was bent and complete. I've been had. I was sad and blue, but you made me feel. Yeah, you made me feel shiny and new.
First, we'll look at some of the bad news, okay? There's a lot of obstacles on the road to superstardom. One of the most obvious is a lack of talent. Videos that we can download from YouTube, such as American Idol, Bad Singers, stuff like that, have shown us that a lot of people who think they can sing can't sing, okay? Authors Krazan and Zell wrote an article where they found that most people only have a moderate understanding of what their actual abilities are. What you sound like in your own head is a whole lot different than what other people hear. If you've never done it before, record yourself and play it back. I guarantee you'll be real surprised. It's kind of like my wife likes to say, she's a star in her own car. Okay? Now, for those people that do have talent, the vast majority of them don't ever make it to celebrity status. Samuel Arbesman wrote an article called "The Fraction of the Famous People in the World" in 2013, where he concluded that the number of people who ever achieve any kind of celebrity is actually about 1 in 2,000. Now, I'm not talking about superstars. I'm just talking about people that make it to any kind of celebrity. Okay, so that's a real small number. Now, out of that number that do make it to some kind of celebrity, there's very few of them that stick around very long. In 1991, John Perellis wrote an article called "Pop View: The Incredible Shrinking Career of the Pop Star." He described pop stars or celebrities' careers as tending to flash and burn out. A lot of times the career never lasts more than a year, 2 years at the most. Okay, you can look around and see that since 1991, that trend has not only continued, but it seems like it's getting worse. Okay, now that's enough of the bad news. Don't let any of that deter you. Let's get to the good stuff. If you want to pursue a career as a performer, the first thing you have to do is find your place. Okay, do you want to sing? Find out if you're a good singer. Don't just ask your friends and family. They're going to tell you what you want to hear. Record a video similar to this one where you sing a little something, use some background music if you need to, post it on YouTube, and check out the comments. And I'm going to warn you in advance, you probably need to have your tough skin on, because people who comment on YouTube videos tend to be brutally honest. If you can't sing, it's not the end of the world, okay? Every band needs a good guitar player, drummer, bass player, keyboards. There's all kinds of instruments. Pick one out that you're interested in, learn to play it, okay? Now, once you've decided where you want to be in the show, practice. That's the next step. It's actually the next 3 or 4 steps. Practice, practice, practice. Feel like you've practiced enough, keep practicing. How much practice is enough? Well, psychologist Kay Anders Erickson wrote a study in which he concluded that in order to reach a level where you would win international competitions, you would need to practice or involve yourself in over 10,000 hours of practice. It's basically 40 hours a week for 10 years, okay? Don't run away just yet, because local musicians, in order to achieve some kind of success and get started, you don't need near that many hours of practice, okay? But don't quit practicing. Even when you're playing gigs and you feel like you're doing a real good show, keep practicing. Next step may be a little repetitive or sound a little repetitive to that, but it's different, and that is never stop learning, okay? Even if you feel like you're doing a good job, there's always room for improvement. There's an article called "Good Leaders Never Stop Learning" by Gerard Sietz. Okay, and this article basically is aimed at business leaders, but there are a lot of fantastic tips and advice. There's a lot of good advice to anybody in any field who wants to continue to grow and get better at their craft. So basically, always be open to new ideas and new suggestions. When I used to perform on my nights off, I'd like to go see other bands. If the band wasn't that good, or if they were playing a different type of music than I played, they were still doing something right because somebody was paying them to be on stage. So a good example is the first set of stage lights I ever bought. I actually decided which lights to get after going and watching a local rock band play. This wound up giving me a little bit of an edge because most local country artists didn't use any stage lights at all. So this added a little bit of visual entertainment to the show. Okay. The last thing, and this is from personal experience, is basically never forget the little people. Now, I know this kind of sounds ridiculous when you're performing on a local level, but what I mean by little people is like your waitresses, your bartenders, basically anybody who you don't really feel is going to make the decision on whether you get hired or not. Example of what I'm talking about is basically good first impression. I go into a venue for the first time to take a press kit. I actually hope I don't meet the manager. I want to meet the bartender. Her name's Valerie. We introduce ourselves to each other and we talk for a few minutes. Now this conversation is really unimportant. So what I'm doing is in my head over and over and over and over again, I'm saying Valerie, Valerie, Valerie. When I leave and drive to the next place, I'm saying Valerie, Valerie. I'm doing everything to make absolutely sure that her name and her face is imprinted on my brain. Now what happens is, a couple of weeks later when I haven't heard from that venue, I go back. I run into Valerie. I say, hey Valerie, how you doing? Good to see you again. Now Valerie doesn't remember me for the world. And that's the best part, because the fact that I remembered her and she didn't remember me automatically imprints on her brain that she must have been important to me. And that's the best lesson I've ever learned. It's not a big deal to make somebody feel like I'm important. It's a big deal to make somebody feel like they're important. And I've just made Valerie feel really special. And that feeling never goes away. It goes along with first impressions. It's actually a second impression, but it can add to or correct a bad first impression. It can add to a good impression or correct a bad first impression. So, in review, first thing to realize is whether you've got talent or not, the vast majority of us are never going to achieve global fame. So, that's not a bad thing though, because even if we do, the majority of our career is going to be spent on the local level. If you still want to pursue a career in music or performing, first thing to do is find your place in the show. Doesn't matter what you do, anybody can have a place in the show. The second thing to do is practice and keep practicing. Never stop practicing throughout your career. Always get better. Adding to that, never get better. Never stop learning. Leave yourself open to new ideas and new suggestions. You can always find something better to bring to the show, and no matter what level you make it to, there's always room for improvement. And finally, don't forget the little people. Okay? Treat everybody as if they're special to you every chance you get. So, if you'll follow these steps, then you can enjoy a career as a local musician, have a lot of fun doing it. And if you're just interested, now hopefully you know a few things that those of us who perform have been through and go through. Thanks and have a great day.